Alrighty then, so another week, which means 3 more brand spanking new episodes of Young Justice on the DC Universe app. I'm Cape Joel, and I'm here to give you an in-depth review, give my thoughts, and see what comic Easter eggs and references I can find. But before we do that, quickly, I just want to do some corrections from last week. I promise I'm not going to make this a thing every week, but because everyone in the comments section was sure to let me know how wrong I was, I figured, hey, might as well try and fix my mistakes while I can, because I know it's going to bug me if I don't. First and foremost, the time jump in between seasons was only 2 years, not 5. I was confused because I assumed the show was off the air for 5 years, so that's how long it must have been in universe as well. Second, Arrowette's secret identity is Sissy King Jones, not Mia Dearden. I misspoke and jumped the gun because, well, I love Mia that much. And lastly, it's pronounced Brion like the cheese, not Brion the way I was pronouncing it. In fairness, that's how I always read it, and I think this might be the first time I've ever heard it out loud before. Good. That's out of the way. Then let's get into episode 4, which was titled Private Security. Now, as we join the story, we get an adorable snapshot of the Harper Croc family unit. It only makes sense. Artemis probably doesn't want to be alone right now after the loss of Wally, and the Roy clone, now going by the name William, could probably use the help raising the cute as a button and fan favorite Leanne Harper. They also have a new house guest in the form of Halo. In fact, after the last set of episodes, everyone on the team has had to pitch in and help shelter these new and now homeless metahumans, and what we get treated to here is basically a day in the life of how this new generation of young heroes learns from the older one. Superboy really gets to show off probably the most character growth and evolution in how he deals with the hot-headed Brion. Much like Connor in Season 1, the prince is angry, directionless, dealing with new and destructive powers, as well as being forced to leave his safe royal bubble for the first time in his life. Why, we even get a little blue versus white collar thing happening when Connor invites Geoforce to help him fix his bike. Superboy drops so much folksy down-home wisdom even Pa Kent would have to be proud of him. And there's still the matter of the amnesiac Halo who tags along with Artemis on her outing to support Zatanna during a very hard day indeed. You'll recall Zatanna's father, Zatara, sacrificed himself to become the new avatar of the Lord of Order, Dr. Fate. This was the impetus for Zatanna joining the Young Justice team, and while it made her very sad, we never really dealt with the direct fallout until right now. Basically, Fate gives Zatara an hour every year to be with his daughter, but it's not near enough, and saying goodbye is always super painful. Fate does, however, give some much needed insight into Halo, saying that she is an old soul, a very interesting thing considering that in the comics, Halo's powers were magical in nature, being possessed by an ancient light spirit, but here they seem to be science fiction in nature. I wonder how the show will go out of its way to square that circle moving forward. But the real meat of the episode, Private Security, comes from Dick Grayson looking to recruit Will Harper for another off-the-book super mission to take down another metahuman trafficking ring. Will has left the super life behind him to start his own security company, but he needs the extra hands today, so what we basically have here is a full-on Harper reunion, including Roy Arsenal and the other clone, Jim Harper Guardian. Now, I'm a huge Roy Harper fan, and his arc was one of the very best from the first 2 seasons of Young Justice, so getting to see what is basically a whole 22-minute love letter to the character in many forms warmed my heart. I am also sure it's no coincidence that Nightwing and Harper are teaming up in a show that is subtitled The Outsiders when we stop and remember that these two were actually the most important members in another era in The Outsiders history when they were leading the team. Together, they must all stop longtime Green Arrow villain Brick from stealing some valuable VR headsets of which actually keep showing up across all the episodes. All the while, it's made very clear that despite saying he's done with teams and traditional superheroics, Nightwing is still working through a lot of complicated issues and guilt stemming from the loss of Wally last season. Basically, your teammates can't die on you if you refuse to have any teammates. This feels a lot like Batman's own relationship with his sidekicks, wouldn't you agree? I think if you're one of those people who are worried about the darker and more mature tone set by the first 3 episodes of this season, then I'm happy to report these 3 new episodes fill the show with a lot more light and levity, so you don't have to worry about Young Justice going full grim and gritty just yet. Now, you might be thinking since the show has gone streaming, episodes are going to be more interconnected and written to be bingeable. That's what I thought too, but it's not totally true, because after a super grounded episode in 4, 5 goes straight for the cosmic action. We get to see New Genesis for the first time, as well as meet the Bug People, including their most famous member, Forager, who, not to body shame the poor fella, but he's gotten pretty damn thick compared to his comic counterpart, but to each their own. The bugs we discover are teetering on the edge of full-blown war with the New Gods, gods. Luckily, Bear of the Forever People is able to recruit Miss Martian and by extension the Young Justice team to help out on a mission of peace. This is a great opportunity to get reacquainted with old faces and even meet some new ones on the team like cult favorite magic user Tracy 13 and see how this team kinda interacts with each other in the field and on the job. Training is another big focus of this one too, because back on Earth, Halo and Geoforce try to master their powers with the help of Lucas Snapper Carr. Yeah, really, he was their teacher in season 1 and 2, and now it looks like Megan and Connor are living with him in his house, fitting as he was the JLA's non-powered kid sidekick mascot back in the day, so to see him helping out young heroes like this is really cool. In the end, this ends up being a real Miss Martian focused piece too, because we discover the Bug New God War is being puppeteered by another white Martian, Megan's brother, who has taken up the name Malafalak. This is an absolutely genius piece of writing because if you know your comics, you'll know the original Malafalak was actually John Jones's evil twin brother and probably one of the few Martian Manhunter villains people know. Mala is in league with the forces of Apocalypse in hopes that if he helps them hurt the new gods, in return they will help him in conquering Mars and getting revenge on the historically racist Green Martians, as well as the Red Martians, which are a super deep cut because Greg Weisman invented them for the Young Justice universe and they're completely unique. In the end, Forger vows to help the Earth heroes uncover the plot, but in doing so he's made a pariah to his people and forced to leave New Genesis, which means once again the team picks up another stray in what's becoming something of a theme for this season. This theme is taken to its natural conclusion in the final part of this new 3-pack called Rescue Op. We once again come face to face with Black Spider, super assassin for the Shadows, voiced by Josh Keaton, a fun little shout out to the Spectacular Spider-Man show, also helmed by Greg Weisman. Spider is aided in his newest hit job by a mysterious figure who we are led to believe might be Princess Tara, Brion's sister. Hey, wait a minute, Tara, Terra, Earth powers, are they really going with this where I think they're going with this? When Brion hears about this, he's chomping at the bit to pick a fight with Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins, even if Dick thinks it would be reckless as a course of action until they get more intel. Obviously, being a group of impulsive teens, Geoforce along with Halo and their new friend Forager steal the supercycle and decide to go it alone against the Assassins. And why yes, sneaking out at night, stealing the family vehicle is an irony not lost on Nightwing and the rest of the team, for it was not that long ago they were ignoring adults' advice and striking out on their own, meaning that the circle is now complete. This episode also comes packing some real fun name gags. Halo wants to be called Violet because that's one of the colors her aura can turn. Also in the comics, one of her aliases was Violet Harper, and she's currently living with the Harper family. Why, even by the end of the episode, it's discovered that her real name was Gabrielle Dow, which sounds very much like Gabrielle Doe, the name she had in the comics, just showing how much real work and research the writers put into every episode of this one for little references that would fly over the head of everyone who didn't constantly read the books. It's on this rescue mission the team runs afoul of the Sensei. Hey, did you know he's Ra's al Ghul's dad? I feel like not enough people know that little factoid and it kind of becomes important later. This leads to a massive battle wherein the undertrained, under-tested teens get trounced. But it's not all bad. Once again, Halo shows just how strong she can really be by unbeknowingly reviving herself. Again, like some otherworldly forces piloting her or something. Things really take a turn though when the rest of the Young Justice team shows up. Ra's makes use of not an army of ninjas, but basically his family, his dad, Ubu, and one mysterious guy in a red hood. Turns out Ra's isn't even the leader of the League of Shadows anymore. Heck, he's not even with the Light anymore. He's basically just trying to live a quiet, if super villainous life when these dang meddling kids kick down his door for no reason. The good guys are a little embarrassed, but happy to have this new valuable information. Why, Nightwing even echoes Batman's speech from the very first episode about how he's angry these guys chose to go it alone, but he's impressed with what they were actually managed to accomplish, and that while they may not be Leaguers, may not be Young Justice members, the world could use some outsiders after all. Oh, but it's in the last few minutes of this episode that the real bombs are dropped. These are huge spoilers, so if for some reason you haven't seen these episodes before watching this, now would be the time to back out. You see, Talia al Ghul appears with a tiny baby in her arms, which is almost certainly Damian Wayne, and then the mysterious man in the red hood reveals that he has a dark head of hair, and also also that he knows who Nightwing is, meaning that that is almost certainly Jason Todd back from the dead. And so there you have it, everyone. That was the 3-pack of new episodes for this week, and I gotta say, it was a nice mix of a lot of tones, certainly more in line with the Saturday morning era of the show, but with enough bite to remind you that this is still streaming TV. There's a very nice feeling of things coming full circle for many of the characters, and how the more things change, the more they really stay the same. If you weren't won over by last week's pack of 3 episodes, I think this new one will do the trick in reminding you just how much this series can do and how much it has to offer for every type of fan.